Hey there, this is Joy, and today I'm excited to join Altenew for the October monthly release hop. I started by die cutting the base and top of the skates using jet black cardstock. For the blades of the skates, I used Gilded glitter cardstock. For the rest, I used pink Brilliance glitter cardstock. To die cut the inner portion of the skates, I first placed the base die on the rhodolite cardstock and ran it through my die cutting machine. Next, I used the top die of the skates and placed it on the die cut piece and die cut it again. I then trimmed off any excess cardstock. To add highlights to the skates, I inked the front portion using white pigment ink and a blending brush. When assembling the die cut pieces, I arranged them in the same order as shown in the layering guide. This helps me to assemble them faster. To create the background, I inked an A2 watercolor cardstock using ultraviolet, ultramarine and tide blue dye inks along with an ink blending brush. I repeated this step a couple more times. I find that layering the inks while ink blending results in a smoother appearance, which is my preferred technique. Next, I inked the edges using Andromeda dye ink. I then inked the lower portion using azurite ink. After that, I applied Midnight Violet dye ink on the top portion of the cardstock. Then, I blended it out with azurite and tide blue inks. You can use a postage sheet to avoid smudging the ink on the cardstock or staining your fingers while ink blending. Next, I sprayed water on the cardstock using the fine mister. First, I sprayed it from a distance, about 12 inches, as this gives me a fine mist of water. After a few seconds, I used a paper towel to dab off the excess. To get thicker and more concentrated spritz of water, I sprayed it closer to the cardstock. Then I used a paper towel and dabbed off the excess. After that, I placed the cardstock in the Layered Snowflake 3D embossing folder and ran it through my die cutting machine. I then stamped the sentiment from the dry brush poinsettia stamp set using obsidian pigment ink. When inking the stamp set, I prefer to gently tap the ink pad on it as this gives me a smooth stamped image. This technique is especially helpful when the ink pad is very juicy as it helps to avoid getting excess ink on the stamp. Due to the texture of the watercolor cardstock, I had to stamp the sentiment twice. If you enjoyed this video, kindly support my channel by subscribing and clicking the like button. Lastly, don't forget to click the notification bell so you can stay updated and be the first to know when I upload my next video. Thank you for being a part of my creative journey, and I hope to see you next week.